everyone. Okay, so today we are live. We're going to talk about Mulberry Close. First off, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Enchanted Essays. I make obscure film and TV reviews. And I've done a few live streams in Inside Number 9. And I spent 2 months on an episode, on a video talking about the episode deadline. So I'm a big fan of the show. Soapy, do you want to go next?
I'm Soapy. I'm a YouTuber who makes videos about very strange and questionable media. I've seen bits and pieces of Inside Number 9, but this is like the first episode that I've actually sat down to watch. Apart from Enchanted Essays videos.
So yeah, hi, I'm George, but more like a Jetro on YouTube. Yeah, I make like videos on League of Gentlemen products and stuff like that because that's fun and I'm a bit nerdy in that way.
Okay, brilliant. And if anyone saw my stream last week with Elliot from Loonvids, he might be joining us later, but he'll be a bit late. Okay, so let's start off with I should start off by saying I went to the BFI screening in March, and the episodes they showed were Boo to a Goose, which is the first one of this series, and this one. This one was actually shown first, and in fact, I don't know if I told the story that they do this thing at the BFI every year where they do an advanced screening with a Q&A. But they said that it was the last possible day they could do it because the screening room was going to be renovated. So so they weren't even sure if they're going to have a full episode to show when they were, organising the event. But yeah, thankfully we had that. And the other ones. So, and I imagine that this one was like probably one of the easier ones to edit because it's just long takes. And they talked about it in the Q&A afterwards about it being quite long takes. Oh, that reminds me, the BFI interviews on YouTube now. I must watch.
Oh,
that
is
again.
it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, lovely. That's great. Okay, I'll watch it probably after this then.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sorry.
They'll have kept my favourite question in. It was the last question, and someone said, "I'm sorry, I know this is a stupid question, but Reese, in that episode, Mulberry Close, you were driving. Does this mean that you finally learnt to drive?" Because famously in the fandom, Reese Shearsmith can't drive. Like in the League of Gentlemen's Apocalypse, if you look in the background of the scene with Jeff in the car, you can see in the background the person who's just pushed the car into frame running off. So he just said, "You're right, it was a stupid question."
So, I've got a question. So at the BFI, did they talk? What kind of things did they talk about in this episode? Has the episode changed in any way since BFI?
No, they said that the Boo to a Goose was handed in very last minute, and there had been a change in the edit between the two. Between the one that they'd submitted like the day before to the BFI, and they'd made a change like that morning or something. But I think it wasn't like a major change. I think it was probably just using different shots or something like that rather than anything major. But yeah, and I remember I want to apologize to anyone else who's at the BFI because I cackled all the way through. So yeah, I'm sorry if I annoyed anyone or people weren't able to hear dialogue properly because I was laughing so much. But yeah, I did like that episode. It wasn't as shocking as some of the other ones, but still I loved it. And Of course, when I saw they were doing found footage again, I just got so excited.
Yeah, I think the
It's like,
problems.
yes!
There are a
So-
couple problems within the episode though, which is I would have preferred it if they just did it like. Okay, I know it's kind of like, oh, haha, they've done the Michael Ball thing at the end, but rewatching the episode, that Michael Ball bit kind of with the Mulberry close. I have not watched a documentary which is just found footage, not found footage, but footage like that for like half an hour. Do you know what I mean? If you were
I
going
don't
to
think it's
do,
supposed to be like the whole. I don't think it's supposed to be like the whole thing was a documentary all along. I don't think that's how it's supposed to look. I think it's just to show that in the end it was made into a documentary and Michael Ball did do the narration for it. I don't think it was supposed to be that the whole episode until
But
that
then-
point had been a documentary.
but then I understand why they did because it was like, oh, for the funnies, but I think like it would have been nicer to see either that, like the details of like a mockumentary horror comedy thingy throughout, or the mentions of the of this documentary that's going to be made for the thing, but the end laugh. I don't know. I know. I'm probably. I know. I'm probably being a bit extra critical for no reason, but I felt like you. To be fair, I can be critical. This show is immaculate. You can be critical about it because there's only nitpicky stuff I can be nitpicky about. Like I can't be. Anyway, sorry. But yeah, I just think like the ending bit sort of is like not in. It's like they've just added it on. They've sort of plastered it on. Whereas I felt like, obviously, I do think it's funny and it's cool. And yeah, but if they did, okay, we're going to do a mockumentary episode, which they should do. I can't think if they've done a mockumentary episode. Have they?
I mean, I think that I've seen a lot of like crime stuff, and I think like they tend not to show like just footage, like CCTV footage. They tend to like do interview segments and then show footage. So that's just how I interpreted it. I interpreted it as just them show like at the end that was just like a bit from the supposed documentary Netflix series, let's say.
But like the fact that it's like 30 minutes of
Yeah.
footage like that is the thing that sort of draws it away. I mean, it would have been super cool to see them do a mockumentary, but the fact that they did 30 minutes of this one style and then sort of said, and then they sort of, in a way, I felt like they plastered the Michael Ball joke in at the end, which is great and all, it's a great idea, but without the rest of the episode connecting to it, it sort of just feels like they've just gone, this is funny, let's pop it in, without really the rhyme and the reason. And I felt like that joke was sort of less satisfying then.
I mean, I agree that it probably could have been better done, but the fact that they were just like kept referencing, oh, we should make it a Netflix series, and the fact that it was the neighbor that ended up hitting the dog who kept insisting that it should be a Netflix series, I thought that was rather ironic and funny.
Yeah, obviously that is quite nice to see. It's I feel like this episode slightly got a happy-ish because it's like justice. At least there's justice at the end. Like at least the woman, the stupid woman, gets it, and Reese gets out.
It's cathartic.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Despite it being quite a dark one, I would say the feeling's more on the comedy. So anyway, just realised I haven't got around to the comments yet. Hello to you. I'm not sure how to say that username, but hello. Hi Joshua, haven't seen your review yet. Hello everyone, lots to talk about. Really excited. Max over on Twitter. You can tell that it's someone else driving the car and chasing shadows. Oh, really? I haven't got round to watching Chasing Shadows. All of my Inside Number 9 fan Twitter mutuals have seen that because it's a show with Reese Shearsmith in, a detective show.
Oh, I need
playing
to see
characters.
that.
I don't know if he's canonically autistic or just like a character who's sort of very autistic coded.
Sorry,
Anyway,
I didn't hear
Joshua
you.
again.
Sorry, which character are you talking about? I didn't hear what you said.
We're talking about
I was
a
just
separate
saying,
show.
Reece Shearsmith was in a show called Chasing Shadows. Just saying that he also wasn't driving in that.
Oh, all right. Sorry,
But,
I just
yeah,
didn't hear
I've heard Chasing Shadows very good. Anyway, Joshua Williams. I think that moment at the end was supposed to be the Netflix show version of a cold open where it serves as a hook for the Mulberry documentary that would lead into the show. Yeah, from the introduction I got that sense.
Yeah, that's what I assumed too, especially with the fact that they showed like a title card.
Yeah, it felt very much like an introduction.
I know they can't
but yeah,
do
brilliant,
it
guys.
anymore. Oh, sorry.
No,
Sorry.
continue.
I know they can't do it because I know this is the final series, and I know the episode we watched last night is the quote unquote special episode. It's like the Wise Owl episode of this series, but it would have been so cool if they did a mockumentary episode, like a full on proper mockumentary. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but yeah, you never know. They might have one up their sleeve for this series.
I hope so. That would be awesome. But I kind of feel like this is the special episode of the series. Do you know what I mean? Because it's usually they do one which is a bit like funky, bit unique.
It's sort of experimental on sort of a format front, yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like that's this episode, and I don't know. I don't think, and from the clips from the trailer, I don't see a mockumentary-esque one. But it could have been so cool, like a horror comedy mockumentary thing.
True, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're just not interested in.
Fair play. I mean, I just thought idea in it. So anyway,
I feel like horror comedy mockumentaries aren't really utilized as much as they should be. So that would be cool. I've only seen one, so.
What one?
What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Shocking. That I watched it. I know, very very surprising.
I haven't seen much of the TV series because I couldn't get into the TV series. I really loved the film, but yeah, maybe I just need to stick with it a bit more because I think I only saw 2 or 3 episodes of the TV series.
I mean, it's a series that goes like you can get really into as like the show really goes on because the lore gets very much expanded and like it's just full of references to like other vampire media, which is why I like it.
Actually, I forgot to ask, was this your first episode of Inside Number 9, Soapy?
I've seen like bits and pieces of it before, but I hadn't like actually sat down to watch a full episode, so technically like I get the gist of the show, but technically yes.
Oh, brilliant. And did it make a good first impression?
Yeah, I like black comedy, so yeah. I have a good impression of the show.
Do you watch any other anthologies shows?
Anthology films, anthology series in general, yeah. I like the series Creepshow.
Creepshow?
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
It's a comic originally, but it's I think written by Stephen King. I don't remember. I have the comics, so I should know it. But...
Yeah, Stephen King. Oh, this inspired Reece Shearsmith and Steve Bernbald, like the Slog people. I remember seeing them talk about it.
I think I saw a video of Reece Shearsmith saying that when he was a kid, he loved the film so much he ended up like drawing the comic book from the film.
Yeah.
That rings a bell.
The art is really, really good, I think, in the comic. I liked the series and like there's been like a movie of it, but like I just really like the art in the comic.
Yeah, I'm looking at the art. It's really cool.
Joshua again says, I'm really excited for the Creepshow series. I have it on my list on ITVX. I can't wait. Oh, it's on there. And hello to DCS Media. It's good to see you.
There was a film made of it, but it's really old. It's like from the 80s. So
Yeah, I think that was the film that Reece Shearsmith had seen, because of course he's in his 50s now, so obviously he would have been sort of the right age at the time. Anyway,
a young whippersnapper.
yeah.
Yeah, he probably saw. I think it's 1978 or no, 1982. 1982. That's when the film released, so that kind of makes sense. The first one.
I knew it was from the 80s because you can just tell from the style that it's from the 80s.
Yeah, I think it would have been around 12 or 13, I think.
Ah, right, nice. Quick math.
Anywho, let's get on with the episode. Oh, I remember they said that there was actually the bit of the foxes. There were actually 2 foxes that were used.
Oh, right.
As in real foxes?
Doubled. Yeah, it was. They had like a fox handler come round. And I think that also the fox didn't want to get into the bin. It's a very well behaved fox. So yeah, it's just a Control C, Control V.
I always thought.
Wait, sorry,
Yeah,
I thought you meant they got 2 foxes. Wait, do you mean they filmed the thing twice and then edited it over?
No, they had 1 fox and then filmed it twice and then added the 1 shot over the other.
It looks really good, but I guess the graininess of the Ring camera probably does help.
Yeah, true.
I think they had to get someone to like pull the bin with a bit of string or something, because the fox was very well behaved and didn't knock it over, something like that.
I've always thought that foxes
the interview's out now, so you can watch it.
I've always thought that foxes were rather cute, but I had a conversation yesterday where someone kind of soured my opinion of them.
Cute and feral.
Oh no.
They're nice to look at. I mean, I always have foxes in my garden, but then they also always eat leave carcasses of birds, and it's like, oh god. It's nice to wake up, come downstairs, and wonderful bird laugh.
They tend to mark their territory, which just brings more foxes. So.
Yeah. Anyway, let's try going through this character by character. What do you guys think of Val, played by Vinette Robinson?
I mean,
what is she in that I remember? What's she in?
I've got IMDb on the other page. I know I've seen her in things before, but I can't think what. Let's see. Sherlock, she's done. She had a recurring role in Sherlock. She was Sergeant Donovan. I remember back when I watched Sherlock. I watched Sherlock around the time Series 3 came out, or whenever that was, like 10 years ago.
I recognize her. So.
Boiling Point. That's in that series.
That's it. Yeah, I bloody love Boiling Point, and she is amazing in that show. Yeah, I liked her in this. She seemed good. I like her as an actor. I just thought she was bloody cracking, as they say.
The character Val, I felt sorry for her. She seemed kind of tired. Like she seemed tired from the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, it's like someone who's just kind of like, okay, I'm just gonna do this, I guess. Like.
Yeah, annoyed by her neighbours, annoyed by her husband, just trying to get to work.
I don't get that. Why is she so annoyed at her husband?
Because he's got an attitude problem.
Up drunk. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I mean, even if he's not a murderer, like, I can see why someone would suspect him of it if they were just the type of person to jump to conclusions, because he clearly does have an attitude problem.
Yeah.
Whereas generally, when it comes to murderers, it's the other way around.
Yeah, as we saw in this episode.
Yeah, it tends to be people who are like kind of quiet and appear nice. That's generally what people say when people find out that their neighbor was a serial killer. Oh, but they were so nice.
Yeah, it's like the Saturday Night Live sketch from the 80s. There's a sketch where a character was assassinated, and it shows like the news crew interviewing everyone that this guy knew. It's like, yeah, he was a quiet guy, kept himself to himself. Did you ever think he'd murdered buckwheat? Yes, he talks about it all the time. And to be like the next person, oh yeah, it's a quiet guy, kept himself to himself.
Oh, that reminds me of a film, right? Oh, sugar. There's a student film, right, that they made. That I can't remember the name. It was banned in some countries, but it was about this guy who like murdered people, right? It was a mockumentary, but what they did was they just got their friends and family to say like actual things about the guy. So they would go up to him and be like, talk about how you feel actually about the person. Like, they didn't say this is for a mockumentary. So they were like, oh, he's lovely. He's a lovely lad. And then it would be like, he murdered loads of people.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah,
episode.
I thought she was... Yeah, sorry, continue.
But yeah, I thought what's her name is? Vanessa Robinson. That's it. Cracking, isn't it? You know, I don't know. I thought like she was nice to see on screen, and I felt like this is the thing. Like, obviously I do like to see Stephen Reese at it, but also these ensemble cast episodes are nice to see because Steve and Reese, obviously we love seeing their faces. We all love seeing their faces, but they are also writing giants. You know, they are incredible with their writing skills, and I think it can be weakened when like they're saying it in a way. I don't know. You can really see their writing talent when it is also through other people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. What's your thoughts on her?
Yeah, I thought she was very good. I don't think she stood out that much as a character, but of course you don't see her for most of the episode.
True.
But yeah, I thought she was good. Any more thoughts on her, Soapy?
I thought she played the character well, like convincingly. Like, you can believe that this is a person in the world, but like as you said, like she didn't really get that much. Like, she wasn't really that expanded on. She was more like a character that served as a motivator or plot device for the other characters.
Yeah.
True. Yeah. But she didn't feel like she wasn't stiff. I felt, you know, in the fact that she was a plot device. She felt, yeah, as you mentioned, very human, but also helped push the plot along. It's good that. Because sometimes you can have these like plot devices, and they just feel like really like, oh god, you've clearly just put this in to try and push this in some direction, and it doesn't feel like naturally flowing, which I felt this episode did do really well. Just flowed really nicely, like most of their other episodes.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. So that some characters, they just have that role in the story. Like, what comes to mind for me is like chorus members in opera. They just are there. They don't really have much to do with the plot. They just sort of help drive the plot forward, but their role is really important.
Okay. Let's see. Let's move on to Oh, what are their names? Just go back on IMDb.
The neighbours.
Kenny and Sheila.
Kenny and Sheila. Cracking names, eh?
Yeah,
They look like a Kenny and Sheila.
they do. Yeah, I love that. Again, it's like quite a believable, awkward interaction. That bit just before he answers the door, we're not scared, are we? No. Hi.
I was dying of cringe when they first spoke to Reese. I was like, oh my, okay, we're gonna have to witness one of these moments. All right. I see how this is going. All right.
Yeah, it's so wonderfully awkward, and you really get the impression of what kind of sort of busybody Sheila is. It's just like, so actually, you do have to press those cardboard boxes right down into the bin and make sure that it's closed, otherwise I don't take them. Yeah, but they did take them. Yes, but just for future reference.
My first thought when I just saw her as a character was, oh, I really like her jacket, but like just her appearance just makes you think that she's one of these like nosy middle-aged women.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've met so many of them, and they're so annoying.
Yeah.
I mean, I say that, but what she was saying later of like, oh, you never know who these people really reminds me of some of my older relatives. Like, oh, you never know these people these days. Like, anyone can be a killer. This kind of thing.
Yeah. Actually, have either of you guys seen The Burbs?
The Burbs.
Yes, it's a film with Tom Hanks, Carrie Fisher, Bruce Dern, I think. It's a film about these new slightly creepy neighbors that move into this quiet suburb, and the neighbors all start spying on them because they're creepy and they think there might be murderers. And it is quite different from this episode, but it is a similar premise. It did remind me of that a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Although this did feel very British in its.
I was going to say, I imagine this is a lot more American.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Okay, I like talking about. Sorry, I've got this cough at the moment. It's dreadful. Talking about the actors, right? Steve, I don't know. He was all right in this episode, but I didn't really like think about him too much. Do you know what I mean? I felt like Sheila was more strong in the episode.
I mean, just in terms of personality, she's like very much a proactive character, right? I mean, even if she is misguided, like she likes to get things done, right? She doesn't sort of faff around. She's sort of the even when they were just snooping around with the gloves and stuff, she was sort of commanding the other characters.
Yeah.
She's more of an uppity busybody of the two. She's I don't know if wears the trousers would be the right phrase for it, but you know what I mean. Like she's, but yeah, you've got
she's very assertive. She's very assertive.
Yes, that's it. Assertive.
I think though, Steve to me felt a bit bland. Really, I know it's not really that I don't mean that in a negative way. Really, I mean I know. There's
he's not very memorable. He's not very memorable.
Yeah.
It's 30 minutes. You've got so many ideas. You can't obviously expand on every character, make them all super interesting in 30 minutes. I mean, I think they did the best they can in the time span. But overall, compared to other characters in this episode, I don't think Steve was as good and as memorable. He felt a bit wishy-washy and just sort of one of the people there compared to Sheila and the other neighbor who I can't remember the name of. I mean, Sheila, fantastic. I can't remember what she's in. I've probably seen her in general, maybe like British comedy or just general British TV. I mean, that's usually where you find these Inside Number 9 actors.
Yes, Have a look
But-
at her IMDb.
But yeah, I liked her in this.
Sorry, she was in Topsy Turvy. Sorry, does that just like I don't know. I like the
Yes.
movie. Okay, I like the movie Topsy Turvy. That's the only reason I sorry.
But yeah, I thought, yeah, it's I've probably seen it in just one of something somewhere at some point. But yeah, I liked her in this. I thought she had like a lot of she. This is the thing. I like it when they base sort of things on feels like real things. Do you know what I mean? Like real character,
Yeah.
like caricatures of real people. I felt that's what the first episode of the series did really well. It was like based off people that you feel exist, and especially with Sheila. You've met 50 of these Sheilas in your life, you know. There's a Sheila on every street, but it, you know, and I think it was also just the fact, like, the fact of she's nosing such a unique English British way. I feel like I've met her, you know, and even though she's a total tosser, I liked seeing her on screen, and I definitely liked it. You know, she was interesting in the episode.
Yeah. Oh, I'll just go over to the comments. 'Cause I haven't gone back there now. Oh yeah, it does remind me of the Burb, says whatever the username is. Ross, lovely to see you again. Hi, yay, I made it, yippee. Thoughts on this one? Definitely a top 10 for me. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a top 10 one for me, but I think it's definitely, you know, I love it when they do an alternative one. And I was really excited to see them do found footage again. So, and it's a type of found footage that I don't think anyone else has done, or at least not something that that's been done on film or TV. I don't think, because yeah, it's possible that a student film's been made like that, but yeah.
Those bloody students always taking these ideas.
Or a top 9, says Joshua. Yeah. Okay, I'll call you Jitesh then. Okay.
I think I'll probably like it more on my third and fourth and fifth watch. I'll grow to like it in the same way I grew to like. Well, Wise Owl was like one of my favorite episodes, but when I first watched it, I thought, "Oh, that's all right." And then eventually I watched it again and again and again, and then I was like, "This is good shit. This, you know, this is the creme de la creme of Inside Number 9." And you know, I'm sure I'll have a similar effect on this episode. You know, I'll eventually be like, "This is the hottest of the shits."
I've liked every episode of Inside Number 9. I've watched as soon as I saw it, except for the Psychoville one. I will give it another chance eventually, but I think it's partially the fact that Psychoville never got a third series. But
What, that they made that episode, or that you feel upset by it?
I didn't like the episode, but I understand the fact that they didn't have a third series meant that, you know, they at least had half an hour to wrap up one of the storylines, and of course a lot of the other storylines had been resolved by characters dying, so you know
yes.
but yeah, I really didn't like it when I first watched it, but you know, it's because I cared about Psychoville a lot, and I'm sure you know, when I first saw League of Gentlemen's Apocalypse I hated it, and then I watched it again the very next day and I absolutely loved it.
I had the same thing with it.
I think going in with lower expectations is will probably change my opinion of it.
I think with League of
but yeah, I think that's
Gentlemen-
the only thing
sorry.
I've seen them make the Death Be Not Proud. It's the only thing I've seen them do where I've actually been like, what is this?
League of Gentlemen Apocalypse is just one of these incredibly cheesy British films, and I love it because of it. It's got such a weird, strange identity, but you've got to love it. You've got to love the just bizarreness of it. You know, I was. Oh, crumbs! I forgot what I was going to say. Damn! No, I had a great idea. Oh, never mind. Anyway.
Oh, I hate it when that happens. Anyway, let's. Speaking of Psychoville, let's.
Psychoville.
Neighbor.
What was this? Oh, yeah. No, when I first watched Death Be Not Proud, I didn't know about Psychoville, but I bloody loved that episode. For a little bit, it's no longer, but for a little bit, it used to be one of my favorite episodes until I watched it about 12 times, and then I was like, okay, it's not as much as my favorite. I've gotten a bit bored of it now.
That's interesting.
Which one is he? Because I remember him in Psychoville.
He's Mr. Jolly.
Not. Oh yeah, yes,
not Mr.
Jolly.
Jelly, Mr. Jolly. Anyway, back to comments. Go out with you. Says yes, I loved it too. Favorite of the series so far. Interesting. Yeah, I think yeah, that's interesting. Although I really like Buto Goose too. Yeah, I think that was definitely more shocking than this one. I remember just this like stunned silence at the ending when I was at the BFI. Joshua Williams again. I really like the comedy that moment Sheila kept making. That comment Sheila kept making about meeting Michael Ball. The cruise was hilarious, and she goes, "You want some of a voiceover? We know Michael Ball." Yeah. Yeah, that thing of we saw him on a cruise and we've been following his career ever since.
Who is Michael Ball? Because
he's a West End actor. I think he's done. Let's see, what has he done? I think, yeah, original cast of Les Mis.
Very nice.
So yeah, it's mainly. Yeah, it looked like he originally played Marius, and then a few years later he played. He came back to Les Mis and played Jean Valjean. When he was a bit older. Anyway,
wasn't he also in Phantom of the Opera?
Probably. Let me see.
I think he was Raoul at one point.
It says he played Raoul in Phantom of the Opera in the 80s.
In the 80s? Wow, okay. He's been at it a long time.
Indeed.
Have you heard of that place that plays like Phantom of the Opera 24/7?
I have not.
That is quite cool.
My friend told me about it, and I was tempted to go, but I just never did.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
I've seen it. Like, it's amazing. Honestly, one of my favorite musicals.
My mum's a big fan of it, so.
I heavily suggest that you should go see it.
I've seen the 25th anniversary film of it, but I haven't, and I've heard of the 1989 original broadcast.
The film is good, but there's something so cool about being there, and they've got this giant like chandelier that they move about on the stage and stuff, and it is incredible because I was sitting down not expecting anything, and then the chandelier lifts up and it flies over the audience, and you go, "Oh my god, what's going to happen?"
Well, I'd be scared then, because in the actual story he uses the chandelier to kill members of the audience, so I'd be scared. He was also Edna in Hairspray and Frank Enferter in Rocky Horror. So, you know.
Steve did Rocky Horror for a bit. He did a production.
Yeah, I think he was the guest narrator. I think with the tours now they have a celebrity guest narrator, so they've got someone different each time. And I think they've both done that. I think both Reese and Steve have done that.
Oh, I didn't know Reese had done that. Nice.
But yeah, back to the comments. Ross again. I'm very biased towards the episodes that use a unique perspective / filming technique. Gimmick episodes in general just get me. Yeah, same here. I'm thinking of doing a video on just about the unusual ones like that. Joshua Williams again. West End talents Sweeney Todd, Les Mis, and also Phantom of the Opera, I think.
Yes, that's right. He did play Sweeney Todd at one point.
Oh, I love
I love
Todd.
Phantom of the Opera, but was disappointed with the sequel they did.
The
Oh my
I've
goodness!
seen,
Sorry. Oh my goodness! Sorry, I just died of cringe. Sorry. It's so bad.
I've seen the Lindsay Ellis video on Love Never Dies. Oh my god.
No, I mean, to be honest, when you think about the Phantom of the Opera, the original in context, it just becomes a lot cringier, and then with the sequel added on top of that, then it becomes so much even more cringier. Like, oh my goodness! Like it just like
I don't think
it's
it
like
went
fiction.
to Broadway. I don't think it went to Broadway. That's how unsuccessful it was.
Yeah,
And of course, they love
show. It had one
Phantom on
show.
Broadway.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Phantom of the Opera is like the longest running West End show that's still running.
Crikey.
I think Les Mis is the longest running West End show. Phantom is the longest running Broadway show, but they're closing Phantom on Broadway.
Oh, that makes me so sad.
Yeah.
But actually, I wanted to say something else that I didn't like about the 25th anniversary film. He didn't fall through a trapdoor. He's supposed to fall through a trapdoor. You know, the like the Why So Silent, at the end of Why So Silent, he's supposed to fall through a trapdoor, but there was no trapdoor in the Royal Albert Hall, so they couldn't do it. And it just makes me so sad.
That is painful.
Yes. I suppose you can only do so much in the Albert Hall.
They did just like a like smoke for him to like run away. I was disappointed though.
Back to the comments. Go out with you says, besides being Mr. Jolly in Psychoville, Adrian Scarborough, Larry, also appeared alongside Reese in the musical Betty Blue Eyes. Ah, yeah, I know that. I know of it because, of course, I know he was. Reese Shearsmith was nominated for an Olivier for that, but yeah, I didn't know he was in it with him. I know that actress from Happy Valley. I can't remember her name because I get her name confused with the woman who writes it. But I know that woman from Happy Valley was in Betty Blue Eyes. Anyway, so yeah, we haven't really got around to talk about Larry. So what did you guys think of Larry?
I thought he was a good character. I thought he was very interesting, and like he had multiple facets to him. But I mean, as soon as I saw him pick up that brick, I was like, oh dear.
Yeah.
I like, what can I say? I like a nice timid man on screen. He was, I don't know, it's something about him. He's just like funky to see because he just reminded me of who he played in Psychoville, and it's just like a bit like constantly nervous of everything, and then eventually he just turns. I like the bit where he just snaps and he's like, his dog is like, because you can really tell like his dog is probably like the center of his world. So like he's like, he just snaps because the dog's gone, and it's like,
I mean, he doesn't seem to have much for life as is if he's trying to spy on his neighbours with Sheila and Kenny.
Yeah, well, I think he probably wants to try and like be included with them and stuff.
He's avenging his dog. In his mind, he's avenging his dog.
Yeah, it's very true. But yeah, I mean, with the stuff before that, with him teaming up with Kenny and Sheila, you get the feeling it's like this is probably the most. Not that he seems to be enjoying it, but yeah, you don't get the impression that much else happens in his life. I love that bit when the Sheila's saying, "Well, I could make a Netflix documentary. I can have my face blurred out," and he goes, "Can I be me in it?"
Yeah, I love
he
that.
seems so excited. Ross, again, all the performances were excellent again this week. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen. I don't think I can think of a performance I've ever seen in Inside Number 9 that I thought was weak or miscast or anything like that. It's always brilliant, and because people love the show, it's they can get really good people, and of course, Reese with Steve Pemberton are seemingly never out of work. They're always working on someone's show.
True.
As actors, they're very busy. I did wonder why Larry killed Val, though. I know he thought that she had poisoned the dog, but she was gone for a week and had just returned. The dog was missing for a while up to that point. Yeah, I mean, well, at least for like a day.
I thought that I thought that Sheila had run over the dog like earlier in the evening.
Well, I thought that too, but then we see the shot of him looking for popcorn during the day.
Oh, so yeah,
at least they're going out, where it just cuts to black. There's a shot of him during the day looking for popcorn, and then it's nice again when Val comes home.
So what I think happened was he'd been looking for the dog for like at least 2 days. Val comes back, he sees the dog in the bin, and then he just goes. Well, technically, what if like the dog just went away? Could have nibbled on some poison. This is what I'm thinking he might have thought. Nibbled on some poison in the garden. Then Val came and went, oh shit, there's a dog in the garden, poisoned, chuck him in the bin. Or he just goes mental. That's like another thing. Loses his like dog. Something that like as we've previously mentioned, probably got not an exciting life, this lad. And so his dog, one of the most important things that keeps him going, keeps him, up, is dead. In the thing, he's got all these thoughts about murders and murder, and in his head, and he sees his dead dog, and he just snaps.
I was going to say at the very least, he's not thinking too rationally about the situation. So I don't think it really matters that she was gone for a week.
Yeah, I think he's just a bit unhinged.
Yeah, Joshua again. Larry was a wolf in sheep's clothing. Whether he's aware of wrongdoing or whether he has a split personality is deliberately left out. Yeah, I didn't get the sense that he had a split personality. I mean, of course he could do, but I don't think there's enough evidence in the text, as it were, to show that. But yeah, like we were saying, the thing of him being like this quiet person that no one would suspect of doing such a thing is exactly the kind of person who does murders.
Yeah,
I mean, you could like he could just be dishonest. Like he could just like be like like most killers just don't come across as a killer, right? So I mean, you have to be dishonest to do this kind of thing. So it could just be that.
Possibly. I mean, of course, we do see him trying to manipulate the situation at the very end when they're talking to the police officer, and he's he's egging on Kenny and Sheila, like, yeah, dragging her body in suitcases. Like, yes. I mean, that was a week before he murdered her, but
of course he would like I don't know. I would just say like there are just certain types of people that like do this kind of thing, right? So like I would just say that like obviously there was like a trigger to the actual murder, which is the dog dying, but like when somebody kills someone, it's not like randomly suddenly. You have to have like a build up to it, right? So
yeah. Anyway, I think that's pretty much it for Larry. But so it's just Reese Shearsmith's character now.
I mean, we could talk about the police, but
yeah. So yeah, what did you guys think of Reese Shearsmith's character?
I liked him, but I also like the fact that he wasn't on screen the whole time. Like he only has his face on like this one bit. I liked that. He's sort of a bit hidden, and like the lack of like face and the hidden identity sort of makes the audience sort of like string into that idea of you know, like when you see someone's face, you can really like. I feel like you can connect to that person a lot more. But the lack of face and the lack of identity for him, therefore, just means that you're rooting against him for like most of the episode, and then when you hear him having that phone call, actually, even something about that phone call, even then I was a bit like, is he doing that for like, be like, no, I didn't kill her, guys. Look, I sent her a phone call. Why would I phone call her? You know, I thought for a bit maybe it was that, but still, there was a bit of like honesty in that scene. You know.
Yeah, I definitely see what you mean about sort of not getting a clear shot of his face, and although we do get a clear shot earlier with with the bit with the mask.
Yeah, but
that was so funny in the BFI because that moment is just so tense. And he takes the mask off. He's like, I forgot my keys.
I mean, but like there, it's like he's just. I don't know. I think in that bit, obviously, we do see his face, but it's like obviously his face looks. It's even more difficult to look at it clearly because it's night and it's on a ring camera. His eyes look things. He looks that scene sets him up to be spooky, right? Which works into maybe the audience may be thinking, oh shit, is he a murderer? Later on, you know. You know, but like I think this scene doesn't really connect you too much because he doesn't look very. It sets him up as a bit spooky, bit evilly, and I don't know. I think it just yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, you don't really I mean that thing of his face bleached out and his eyes look black is very creepy looking, isn't it? But yeah, I thought you do get the impression of he really could have done it, but somebody had said on I think on Twitter because someone had written that bit where he takes the second suitcase out and drags it to the car got a really big laugh. And someone had said, were people seriously still thinking that it was the body in the that it was that he'd killed her? And you know, didn't that seem too obvious? And I think if you know the show well enough, you think, oh, something else is going to happen. But at the same time, I don't think any of us fully thought, oh well, it's clearly not. It's clearly going to be something else. So because you know, you never know fully what to expect. So yeah. Oh, some great comments here. Don't we love it when Reese does pure unadulterated rage? Yes. Yeah.
I love that in the last episode.
Yeah, but both in and out of character, he's he's kind of known for that. Yeah, the scene where he just went off on all the neighbors was so good. Yeah, that was such a brilliant scene. And she's just like acting, you know, trying to have the high ground because she's being all polite, and it's like, you've just accused him of murder and called the police on him. He's acting perfectly reasonably. But yeah, it's a good character because you get the impression that he could have done it, but then again you get the impression that it could just all be a misunderstanding. Doesn't give us too much either way.
I mean, you can sort of understand like both sides' perspective, right? Because I mean,
yeah,
you can understand. You hear shouting, you hear crashing. You see like a bunch of red liquid on a futon that's been chopped up with a chainsaw. You see him carrying bags out. Of course, you would assume like it's not an unreasonable conclusion to come to. I would say that obviously it's an extreme, but like if you're already very paranoid, then yeah.
And a bloody busybody.
Yeah,
of course.
But oh, sorry. Continue.
I would say that like them not showing I would agree that them not showing Reese's face sort of makes it harder to empathize with him in the beginning. And I've seen filmmakers and do similar things in other stuff as well. Like just not showing a character's face can just adds some sort of mystery to them, because it sort of detaches the audience from them. And I think that like, because he's already sort of like someone who, a character who's just like, he already seems kind of angry, like it's easy to like antagonize him, right? As an audience member, and as like Sheila and Kenny and stuff. So I think that it's really well done in that way, where it's kind of like, oh, like I could tell that they were going down the route of like, oh, maybe he killed her. Like I knew that's where that was going. But like when he made the phone call, I was kind of like, okay, maybe he didn't do it, or maybe like it's just a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Because realistically, even in real life, what is more likely to happen?
Yeah. Yeah, very true. Great point from Go Out With You here. It's hard to root for or against anyone in this episode, though. A bit like last night of the proms or Simon Says. Yes, I definitely see what you mean there. Joshua Williams again. I felt sorry for him, but the fact that he was being taken away in handcuffs and shouts at Sheila, looks like you'll never get your Tupperware back, Sheila, was gold. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because it's just like his wife's just been murdered, but what he wants to do is be angry with Sheila. That's brilliant. Also, the skeleton mask moment, just one moment where I covered my eyes thinking it's a jump scare, isn't it? His physical performance with the mask on is so creepy. It genuinely feels like something from a horror film.
The first thing that I thought of was like, does this guy think he's in The Purge or something? That was my first.
Yeah, it's definitely give that vibe. That it's just like how it's sort of slow and precisely he's walking around.
I assumed that it would be. I assumed that it was like somebody else coming to bother both of them at first.
Yeah. Yes, very good moment. Ross again. This episode was like a cross between Cold Comfort and The Devil of Christmas in the best way possible. Yeah, I sort of see what you mean there. Yeah, I really
had
some
like Devil of Christmas things with the old police tapes and all that.
Yeah, well, I suppose that was also a found footage episode, Devil of Christmas, wasn't it? In quite a strange way. That is probably closest we've got to a mockumentary, the sort of the DVD commentary style. Yeah, that is a good episode. I do like that one, and Cold Comfort as well. It's just one of those episodes that, because it was one of the first ones I saw, I'm just like, it's one of my favorite episodes. That's the thing with Inside Number 9. I've pretty much sure I've said this on the stream before. There are so many absolutely fantastic episodes you can completely forget that like one of your top 10 episodes exists. Like someone will mention it to you and you go, oh yeah, that one! That's like my third favorite episode. But there's just so many good ones.
It is difficult to decide.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I can't rank them. I'd considered ranking them like very, very early on when I started watching them.
No, I can only know what episodes I don't like. And that's what's that one with the awful, I think it's the early series, I think maybe series 2, and it's got, I think, awful CGI in it. It's the prank one.
Oh, Seance Time.
Yeah, that is the only episode that there's an episode that I thought, oh, this is crummy, and then I rewatch it and I go, it's all right. That
when
one.
when you said the prank one, that's not what came to mind to me.
Yes, that is an interesting episode. But yeah, yeah, that's I would say it's one of my favorites. But yeah, I think it's I'd find it too difficult to rank because of how different they are and how high the quality I think all of them is.
True.
If you gave me 2 episodes, I might be able to say which one I prefer to the other one, but then again, it would still be difficult depending on which episodes those were. But with something like the monkeys, which I do rank, it's I think that varies in quality quite a bit, but and it's often quite a mixed bag. But yeah, with Inside Number 9, the quality is just too high. Have you guys seen that Steve Pemberton made a ranking, ranked all the Inside Number 9 episodes just to piss Reese off?
I have not seen this. Oh my god. What is it?
Yeah, I think it was
photo
on the Richard Herring podcast. I think it was that the Richard Herring Leicester Square Theatre podcast. He said, "Oh yeah," because I think when Reese Shearsmith had gone on the podcast, he was complaining about rankings. He's complaining about a lot of things from what I've seen of that interview, but yeah.
That's just
Anyway,
Reese.
back to the comments. Joshua Williams. Both of those episodes had some of my most awestruck reactions, jaw on the floor sort of reaction. Oh, are you going back to Devil of Christmas in Cold Comfort? Because if so, yeah, I agree. I was rooting for Jesus in Last Night of the Proms. Yeah.
That's the episode
Yeah, I think that's
that I always...
the only guy we could root for in that episode, I think.
That episode is I always like to describe Inside Number 9 episodes with the least context possible. I always describe it as, you know, the episode where they're listening to like classical music and then Jesus comes in and they stab him with a pitchfork. You know that episode. Just a regular episode of Inside Number 9.
This is actually one of the most recent ones that I've seen for the first time. And yeah, I knew it was a divisive one going in. And I think because I knew that, I was expecting it to be one of the ones that's a bit more quiet, if you know what I mean, like, I don't know, Nana's Party or something. But
Oh,
yeah, but yeah, it was really surprising. It's one of those things where I don't fully get what they were trying to do, but I appreciate it and I find it interesting, but I see why it's so divisive, and not just I don't think that's just the people who like don't agree with the politics of the episode. I think there are people who agreed with the politics of the episode who still weren't a fan of it. But
I always thought though that episode is perfect because it has sorry, it has like both sides of like different political ideas. Obviously, I know that they are naturally leaning to one side of it, but I just think it is a cracking episode. I think it's probably in my top 10 because it's just I love it honestly. There's so much ways I feel you can view it, and that's what I like about it. You know, is it real? Is it not? How much do you take as real? And all the different characters in it, I feel, is so developed. I mean, we should just do a stream and I talk about that for like an hour straight because I love that episode.
Oh, that's interesting. Anyway, hello to Humphrey Bubbles. This is the best TV show ever. Huge TZ fan, but this has got it beat by a wide margin. What show is that? Don't know what that is. Oh, you mean Twilight Zone? I'm guessing you mean Twilight Zone.
That was the other example of an anthology series that I liked, Twilight Zone.
I haven't got around to watching that yet. So many people have been recommending stuff to me, and I've always gone, oh, I'll put it on the list. Only like a couple of days ago, I've actually made an actual list.
I mean,
I will add it to that now.
It's just such an influential show. Like, I assume you mean the original series from the 60s. It has so many like famous actors from the time in it. It's you know, the like idea of like a killer doll. That was like really established in the Twilight Zone. There's so many other shows that reference the Twilight Zone. The one that comes to mind is, of course, Futurama. But like, I don't know, and they tried to sort of recreate this with like the later series in the 80s and also the movie, but I think that nothing really compares to the 60s show, really, even if the effects are kind of questionable. But yeah.
Jordan Peele did a remake of the Twilight Zone in recent years, didn't he?
I haven't seen that. I've only seen the like movie from the 80s.
Mm.
And the only reason I
only know-
watched that is sorry, the only reason that I watched that is because one, it was part of, it was because they did the 60s series and then they did a series in the 80s, and they did like a movie that was like related to the series in the 80s, but there was like a really horrible tragedy that happened on the set of that movie.
Yeah.
Which is like the only sort of reason it fell under my radar. I was like, oh my goodness, because I was reading the Wikipedia article on like tragedies on movie sets or whatever.
Yeah, that's how I found out about it as well. Yeah, there is. I am. Yeah.
But
morbidly interested in that.
the episode of the Twilight Zone that really makes me feel like, oh, this is the Twilight Zone, is the one with William Shatner in it, and the one with the woman who like is being forced to get plastic surgery. Those are the two episodes that I think are like really the Twilight Zone.
The only episodes I've seen of that is the. Do you know the one on the Close where they think there's aliens, but there aren't aliens?
Oh yeah. And of course, sorry, that just made me think of the other episode, To Serve Man. Sorry. You know the episode.
I need to watch more of it.
I just know that the To Serve Man one is a bit from the bit in Treehouse of Horror where Kang and Kodos come down.
Yeah, the Simpsons reference the Twilight Zone quite a bit as well, which is why I also think of have you seen Futurama?
Yeah.
Like they have that segment, the scary door, which is literally just the Twilight Zone.
Yeah. Back to Humphrey. You must watch all 156 episodes of the original Twilight Zone if you like Inside Number 9. Yeah, I'll definitely
agreed.
Check that out. Nightmare at 20,000 Feet and Eye of the Beholder, respectively. Yeah. Joshua Williams again. I love Twilight Zone. Also, Black Mirror is a good one, and Tales of the Unexpected is another. Yes, I was about to mention Tales of the Unexpected. I don't know if either of you guys have seen it.
I've seen the one or two episodes of that. Also, if we're talking about anthologies, Love, Death and Robots, that's always really good.
There's another anthology series which is Tales from the Crypt, which is another comic.
Oh yeah, that's inspiration for recent Steve. I feel. I think.
Is it?
I think it is.
Yeah,
I feel like they've mentioned it on one of the commentaries.
They really the Tales from the Crypt, I find, really popularized the story of the monkey's paw for like my parents' generation and my generation, I think.
Yeah,
other than the Simpsons episode.
Yeah, going back to Tales of the Unexpected, I have only seen episodes. Well, first of all, I've only seen episodes based on Roald Dahl stories, and I've only seen 3 of them that based on stories I'd already read. Actually, I think I saw at least one other one. But yeah, I did see hear a clip of an interview on Miss Gempi4's one of Miss Gempi4's Angry Reese compilations, where he's complaining about an episode of Tales of the Unexpected being crap and being annoyed that they're always compared to it. And it just reminds me of that bit in the Comic Strip Presents episode's Bad News Tour, where Vim's going, look, we're not heavy metal. And it's like, yeah, we're more complicated than that. The others are going, yeah, but it's like a useful frame of reference to say that we're heavy metal. And it's like, no, we're way more complicated than that. But anyway,
the funny thing is that there are loads of bands that are actually just like that, though.
Yeah. Oh, have you seen any Bad News Talk? Because I know you like Spinal Tap.
No, I haven't, but I've heard of it.
So yeah, I think I mentioned it in the comments of your Spinal Tap video. It did come out of. It was made the same time as Spinal Tap was. So yeah, one can't be accused of ripping the other off. It's just it is a genuine example of parallel thinking instead of someone stealing the other's jokes and then claiming it as is parallel thinking.
Like the two Dennis the Menaces.
Yeah,
There's
exactly. It's
American
like
Dennis
that.
the Menace
It's just a weird coincidence, But yeah, I actually saw it at a Picture House cinema in Hackney. They've been doing comic strip present screenings around the south of the UK. I went to the first one that had Peter Richardson, Jennifer Saunders, and Stephen Mangan. And then I went to the one in Hackney with Peter Richardson and Alexi Sale. And I watched the Strike and Bad News tour with that one. But yeah, so they did 2 episodes of, because Comic Strip Presents is a comedy anthology series. So yeah, they did an episode of they did an episode that was half an hour, and then when the series became full 1 hour episodes, they did a 1 hour episode of it as well. And they ended up doing 2 albums produced by Brian May, which is actually one album, and then the second album they were contractually obliged to make. There was so much improv that ended up not being in the original album. They just did an album of excess improv from the recording of the first album. But yeah, the cover of the Bohemian Rhapsody is the funniest cover I've ever heard. It's brilliant.
I mean, the fact that it Brian May was involved with it, I kind of feel obligated to check it out now.
Yeah. Anyway, Joshua Williams again. Ross, if you're still there, I'm going to come up to your comment later. Joshua Williams, the Jordan Peele one is good, but it doesn't hold a candle to the original. Talking about the Twilight Zone. In terms of Tales of the Unexpected, my favourite one is Lamb to the Slaughter and one called The Royal Jelly. Yes, I do. Lamb to the Slaughter is one of the ones I've seen. I do really like the short story. And I've also seen the adaptation of Lamb to the Slaughter on the Hitchcock anthology series, Hitchcock Presents or whatever it was called. And I think they made a mess of it. I'm definitely planning on doing a video essay at some point. I mean, the problem with Tales of the Unexpected, another problem with it is the fact that they have to adjust the short stories to the time of the episode. Like the landlady is the ending is very much open to interpretation. And then they can't, to fill time, that it can't be open to interpretation. And then again, I suppose you have more control, don't you, when you're when you're writing it. But they definitely did feel like they got rid of the ambiguity just because they needed to pad out the episode.
I can't really say that Hitchcock is my favorite director of all, like, the classic directors.
I think the only Hitchcock I've seen is Rebecca.
Oh, I really, really like the movie Rear Window. That's probably my favorite movie by him.
Oh, I must watch that. Well, as a fan of Psychoville, I must watch Rope, because they did an episode of Psychoville that was inspired by Rope, where they did it and made it look like one take, and it's an episode about these 2 characters trying to hide a body.
Isn't that based on the real murder?
Yeah.
Is that the right one? Okay, I've seen that.
Yeah, that's the one.
I've seen most of his films. I just prefer like another style of like filmmaking. He's a good director. He's just not really my favorite. Out of all of the ones that I've seen of his movies, my top 3 are like Rear Window, Vertigo, and probably Psycho. Although, to be fair, Psycho has been like attempted to be imitated like 500 million times, so I'm kind of sick of it at this point.
Yeah. Okay. Well, going back to the episode, do you guys have any more thoughts about anything else in the episode?
No,
I mean, sorry.
Sorry, no, I was just going to say no. Sorry.
I would just wanted to say that I thought that like this was a good episode to like really get into the show on. I think because I thought that it was good. So
yeah, I think there's very few episodes that I wouldn't recommend as a first episode to people. Obviously, based on people's taste, there's some episodes I'd be more likely to recommend to a certain person. But yeah, there's very few episodes where I think, yeah, it's probably not a good idea for it to be your first one. But yeah, anything else?
What is? I don't know if you've shown many people this. What is your go-to thing to show people? Inside Number 9. What episode do you pick? Do you go when you go? This is this show. I spend all my time thinking about. What episode do you show? I always bring out Diddle Diddle Dumpling or Cold Comfort because they are like you can't walk away from that and go, it's a bit shit that. Like they are proper good uns, I usually go for something in like the early, like the first 3 series.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I don't know what I'd go for really, but yeah, I'm not really sure. I mean, in terms of if I was worried they would find it a bit too dark, I'd probably go for Zanzibar as one of the most exciting and interesting ones that is one of the sort of lighter comedy ones. I mean, Wuthering Heist is a good example of that as well, but I think Zanzibar is probably a bit more accessible.
Wuthering Heist?
Yes, it's
the title.
Yeah, that's the title. It's a combination of a heist movie and commedia dell'arte.
Okay. I like the title. I've heard worse parodies of the title, for certain.
Oh, didn't you do? You've reviewed something that was Wuthering Heights, didn't you?
Wuthering High. It was one of the worst.
Oh,
movies.
yeah.
It's one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Full stop. And I've seen
Didn't it somehow have cast James Caan in it?
Yes, somehow.
Yes.
It looks like that's where all of the budget went. To be honest, it's really not good. The script, like it doesn't even really adapt the book properly. Like they sort of throw different parts of the story around and then just they only like adapt like half of the book, which I know the 1939 Wuthering Heights does the same thing, but they don't throw stuff around, like plot points around as much. I recommend the 1939 film, actually. It has Laurence Olivier as Heathcliff.
Yeah, I have read the book, and
it's a lot.
Yeah.
I don't like how it's often categorized as a romance, because it's just not a romance. It's just sad.
No, it's like it's so toxic. I'd be very concerned if someone considered that to be a romance. Like it's like compared to of course it's written by Emily Bronte, who's the sister of Charlotte Bronte, who wrote Jane Eyre. Compared to Jane Eyre, which felt like a toxic relationship that I felt that we were supposed to be on the side of. I felt like in Wuthering Heist, we're not supposed to side with the relationship. I think we're supposed to be sort of drawn in and fascinated by it. But with Jane Eyre, I was just so annoyed by everyone in that book.
I think with Wuthering Heights, it's sort of supposed to be like a car crash that you can't look away from. I think that's really supposed to be what the story is like. And like there are parts where you like feel sympathetic for certain characters. Like definitely in like the first half of the book, I felt really sorry for Heathcliff. I felt so bad for him, and I mean, I've heard some people call Catherine selfish. I don't think she's selfish. I think she's just sort of behaving in a way that's considered appropriate for the time, which is perhaps not socially acceptable now. But like, I mean, given the time frame, I mean, you can understand why she makes some of the decisions that she does, even if they're not the greatest. I think that like. I've actually never seen like a really good adaptation of Wuthering Heights that like tries to modernize it in some way. Like, have you seen the After movies?
What's the After movies?
Oh my goodness. Okay. So you know how like Netflix are now like adapting Wattpad fan fictions?
Yeah, sure.
It's
Oh,
like one of the Wattpad fan, the Harry Styles one. I read like the first. I think I read like most of the books. I just skipped a lot of it because it was just too painful to read, to be honest. But like the first one, they really romanticized Wuthering Heights, and I'm like, you didn't. I just feel like the author just didn't read it. Well, like the same thing with like Pride and Prejudice. You just didn't read it. Pride and Prejudice, I think you can accept the relationship a little bit more because, like, Darcy tries, he tries. You know.
Yeah, I get you.
Like he's not nice in the beginning of the book, but like he tries to change when Lizzie is like, you're a twat.
Anyway, Joshua Williams going back to talking about episodes of Inside Number 9 that are good to start with. Diddle Diddle Dumpling is mine too. If not, then Sardines or Tom and Jerry. Yeah, Tom and Jerry's a really good one. I do like that. Again, that's one that I forget exists, and yes, it's one of my favorites.
I love the title. I love the titles.
I don't go for the sad ones when bringing people in because the sad ones are like, Tom and Jerry, 12 Days of Christine. I'm trying to think of another one, but my mind's blanking. I don't go for those because I always want something like, I don't know. I always go for the drama ones or like dark comedies because I feel like most of the series has elements of comedy, dark, or drama in it. So if you like a dramatic episode, you'll be fine with basically the whole series. Or if you like a comedy episode, you'll be fine with the whole dark comedy episode. You'll be basically fine with the whole series because it's like every episode has that element into it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think I would. It would depend on who I was recommending it to. Something sad.
Yeah.
Ross, I feel like it has to be something that isn't going to blow their socks off or anything high concept either. Yeah, unless I knew that they were really into, I don't know, theatre or something. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Which episode is
that? They're just talking in general, but I'm thinking of in terms of people who are into episodes for people into theatre. Both Zanzibar and Wuthering Heights, because obviously I already talked about Wuthering Heights, but Zanzibar is a cross between a bedroom farce and a Shakespeare comedy. So it's like a set in a hotel. It's like a bedroom farce, but it's in iambic pentameter. So
it's perfect because I hate Shakespeare. I'm sorry, I'm going to talk about this. Right, when I did my English GCSE, it killed me and it made me hate Shakespeare. Shakespeare, twat of a man, honestly. Oh, Hamlet and all that. No, go for a walk, mate, and get some air. I know you're dead, but just shush. You have caused me too much pain. But Zanzibar, that's the Shakespeare I want. It has funny things that I can actually laugh at. Not weird, obscure jokes in like Macbeth, where it's a cock joke, but you don't really get what it is. Zanzibar, you get the jokes. It's easy to understand. And it does the funny, cool, rhymey thingy, my Bobby. You know, it's perfect. It's all worlds.
Okay, when you say that it's like a mix between the two, you don't mean in like the same way that the 90s Romeo and Juliet adaptation is, right?
I've not watched that.
I'm
Isn't that meant
really
to be
hoping-
Oh, that's
super
a
gritty
brilliant
though?
film.
I don't know how I feel about that movie. I sort of have very mixed feelings about that movie.
Right.
Because it's like really, really funny. It's really, really funny, but like it's really, really questionable as a Shakespeare adaptation.
Well, this isn't going for Shakespeare
way?
adaptation. It's like
You mean the
Shakespeare
Romeo-
style.
Okay, good. I mean, like, because like maybe it's just because I watched it when I was like 14, but I just couldn't take it seriously when they pulled out a gun that said sword on it.
is that a part of the film?
Yeah, because it's all Shakespeare's original dialogue. So
But it's all set in Miami.
but yeah, I like the fictional worlds that they create with that film, but it's like this slightly heightened reality, a world that's sort of slightly different from what was then, you know, modern day LA, because it's set in a Venice Beach style place called Verona Beach. So of course they
I
could
think
still
it's-
call it Fair Verona.
I think it's just because of the like 90s humor, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also the fact that okay, I'm sorry, I don't remember which role this is, but you like also the fact that it had like Jamie Kennedy in it with like pink hair, and the only roles I'd ever seen him in was like Son of the Mask and Scream, so I just didn't know what to think about it.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in anything else, so yeah, I didn't really have that going into it. But
Son of the Mask is like the really, really, really bad sequel to The Mask.
yeah, I have heard of it.
It's really bad.
Yeah,
really, really
I
bad.
really like the Baz Luhrmann Romeo and Juliet.
I
I know
didn't
that Baz
think
Luhrmann's style is an acquired taste, but
I
yeah, I
didn't
think he did
I didn't think
good
that it
job
was
with it.
bad. I just thought that I just didn't really like know what to think of it because you know
Yeah.
there's just a lot going on. There's a lot going on.
Ross again, Zanzibar is one of my favourite episodes of them all, but people seem to put it quite low. I think it's probably one of those ones like sardines. People tend to put sardines when they're ranking them, they put it very high on their list or quite low. And I think it's just because most of that episode is awkward comedy, and that's quite a difficult thing for people to get into. Whereas 12 Days of Christine, the reason why 12 Days of Christine it's not necessarily everyone's favorite, but the reason why so many people consider it like such a high up episode, and there's so few people who don't like the episode, is because it's not a comedy episode. There is, you know, comedy in it, of course, but it's because it's not so much a comedy episode. And of course, because it's a good episode. But anyway, Joshua Williams again. Also, I'm glad I'm not the only Jane Eyre hater. Yes, she's such. I'm a massive goody two shoes. I've always been a massive goody two shoes. Jane Eyre is the ultimate goody two shoes, and I hate her.
I think it's just I wouldn't say that I disliked her as a character. I just found a lot of the decisions that she made very frustrating.
Yeah, I mean,
Like-
maybe it's
like-
in
like-
the
sorry.
modern day, but I recommend. I think it's called Wide Sargasso Sea, which I had to read when I studied it, which is a sequel written by another author in the 60s or 70s, I think. And it's a prequel, and it's written from the perspective of the wife in the attic. That's a good book.
Maybe I should check it out.
Yeah.
My first impression of like Jane Eyre is like before I read the book, I watched like a BBC adaptation of it, and I just remember it making me really uncomfortable. And that's sort of what I think of when I think of Jane Eyre.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what year it's from. I think it's from the 2000s.
Okay, well, I'll go back to a question Ross asked earlier, because I think this would be a good one for us to end on. Also, I've asked this before, but does anyone have a theory for what they'll do in the last episode? I don't think there's any details on it just yet.
Oh, is there not?
I don't think there is. I think because it's just like what people thinking they're going to do for the last ever episode, or the last ever episode of a full series, at least. You know that of course it might come back for a special or two at one point. But personally, I think because of course generally they tend to go for quite a dark one, like a horror based one or quite a shocking one for the final episode of the series. I think they could either do that or they could go out on a slightly meta note. People have been going, but like one where they break the fourth wall, and it's like, well, no, they don't mean that. And they do have episodes where they break the fourth wall, but no, I don't mean that. What I mean by that is an episode that is thematically relevant. You know, just I mean, you know, people say things like about like how Benny Clifton's dressing room. Of course, it's mainly inspired by double acts, and that are quite different from Stephen Reese. Of course, they aren't really a double act, but it's still about these two people who've worked together for a really long time in comedy and have performed together and like that kind of thing, or like the end of the League of Gentlemen anniversary specials where Val says, well, you can never go back, can you? And Benjamin says, no, but you can always visit. And it's just such a poignant moment that is clearly, breaking the fourth wall without breaking the fourth wall. And them doing something that's thematically about endings, like the end of an era or letting something go. I think they could go for something like that. But maybe they don't. And I'm not gonna put expectations. I always try and go into things with high hopes and low expectations. That's I think my philosophy as a reviewer, because I always want something to be good, but if I don't want to go into anything with expecting too much of it. Although of course that's it. I don't think it will be amazing, but
the only movie that I went into with very high hopes is The Princess Bride.
Ah, of course. Yeah, that's one of my dad's favorite films.
It's a good film.
I think it will end. The show will end with Reese and Steve looking into the camera, and they'll go, Inside Number 9 was more about the friends we made amongst the way. Now we're going to go through all our favourite killings throughout the show. And
how many killings?
How many killings? And they'll do like a long memorial of all the characters. That will be 30 minutes.
A black and white montage. A black and white montage with like fade-ins between the different scenes and like Inside Number 9 brackets 2014 to 2024 close bracket with like sad piano music. Yeah, exactly.
Of an angel.
Exactly.
For every episode, and it's just 30 minutes of seeing different characters who've died in, and that's what it's going to end off on.
Yeah, in black and white and slow motion. Anyway, back to the comments. Going back to Why Took Us to See, I loved Why Took Us to See by Anita Desai. Was that was that who it was by? Yeah, it was a good book. Ross again, I think they also never put any footage of it in the trailer. Oh, of the final episode. No. Well, there is going to be a screening of the final episode. I'm so annoyed. I saw it that Rishis was put a thing up on Twitter today about this thing that's a screening of the final episode live in London. I'm on the waiting list. I'm very high on the waiting list, I think, because it filled up literally whilst I was purchasing the ticket.
Oh my
god. So I'm on the waiting list, but I should be quite high on the waiting list, I think. I
didn't know it was a thing until there was a waiting list, and I was like, oh fuck.
Yeah, it was literally like minutes after he posted it, and it's frustrating because I was just like, because I mean, it's partially because I forget that it's not, the same 9 people on Twitter who go to these things. That there's actually quite a lot of people who watch Inside Number 9. But yeah, it's annoying because you have to go. Okay, but will I be able to get there? Will I? What about work? That kind of thing, and you just have to go. No, wait, I can think about this later after I've got the ticket. But
Everything's a
yeah,
footnote
I know friends that
on
are going. So yeah,
Edmonton.
fingers crossed. I managed to get on the sort of space opens up. But yeah, I think we'll wrap it up there. Partially because that's pretty much the end of the conversation, and partially because I am exhausted.
Fair play.
So yeah, do you guys have any upcoming videos that you want to plug or anything?
I don't have any at the. I'm trying to get like loads ready because I'm going to go to uni next year and I want to get them all scheduled. But please just check out the channel and the stuff I've done so far. I want to try and just keep. I'll be at least posting every month on a Tuesday, the first Tuesday of the month. That's my aim for the next year and a half to have that as a thing. Okay. So yeah, please, that would be nice if you checked it out. But if you didn't, you know, that's fair.
Yeah, your stuff with League of Gentlemen merchandise is really, really fascinating.
Yeah, I get like, I don't know. Basically, ages ago, I was like, I brought all the stuff, and then I was like, all right, I can talk about this for ages, and I can bore people's ears off. Maybe someone will find that interesting. I'll just do a video series on it all.
Well, that's the good thing, you know, with YouTube and social media, you can find, you know, the handful of people who won't be bored to death by you being interested in a certain thing, because you know, you just talk to people IRL that they're not necessarily going to be interested.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, Ross has just asked for links. I will.
I can get links.
Yeah, if you could copy and paste them, that'd be good, because I will hopefully remember to add you guys in the description in the morning. But I need to start doing that before the live streams, because I think with the ones I did around Christmas, I don't think I still haven't added people to the people's links to the description, so I need to make sure I do that.
All right, my link is on the YouTube comment one. I put it in on the comments on the YouTube.
Oh, wonderful. And Soapy, have you got a recent video to plug?
I'm gonna try and be working on a video on Battlefield Earth.
Ooh.
I was going to make a video on the Winnie the Pooh sequel, but I've been struggling to find my hands on a copy of it because it's like a relatively recent movie and it's not like a big studio. So I think I'll just have to wait for it to be like properly put on a lot of streaming services and stuff. But
what is the name of your YouTube channel?
I'm gonna send the link in the chat.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, I can't. Okay. Because I'm not signed in. Okay, it's fine. But basically, my YouTube channel is Soapy Loves Movies.
Yeah. Yeah. You post really, really brilliant stuff, and you're a fantastic artist as well.
Thank you.
You're really brilliant. And yeah. If anyone wants to check out my stuff, obviously I've got previous Inside Number 9 stuff. I've got my Cycleville review, my video essay on the Inside Number 9 episode Deadline, and in terms of recent stuff, I've been doing a Rick Mail month, Rick May, and my latest one has come out today. It's on the kids show he did, Grim Tales. So yeah.
Wait, he did a kids show.
I think he did a few like things aimed at kids, but like he did a couple of Jack and Nori episodes, but yeah, this was like a series like with his name on it and things, where he's like the main character rather than something where he's just doing the voice or something. But yeah, it's basically just Rick Mail sat in a chair with giant chicken legs telling Brothers Grimm stories, occasionally with animation in between, but sometimes I forgot to mention in my review, not all the episodes even have animation in it, but he's just like such an engaging performer. And one of the two people who adapted the stories and wrote the scripts was Anthony Horowitz, who of course has since become a very successful children's author. So that was interesting. But yeah, wrote
Oh
for
my
his sort of style very well, but without sort of compromising the original stories. It still very much has the essence of the original stories.
I forgot about Anthony Horowitz.
Yeah, he's a great writer. But anyway, so yeah, thank you very much for everyone watching. Thank you very much, you guys, for joining me.
Of course, it's a pleasure.
So yeah, we'll do another stream this time next week. I'm sorry for those. I've been all over the place with what day to do these because I was usually going to do them on Thursdays, but of course that's the same time that Steve Pemberton's on Taskmaster. So
Priorities,
so
priorities.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks to everyone watching. Thanks Humphrey Bubbles. Thanks Ross, and thanks to you two. So yeah. See you guys. Bye.
Bye.